like to start out by saying thank you for being on the Serve Talk podcast and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having
I'll,
me, man. I appreciate it.
no problem. I'll do a quick introduction for you.
Sure.
This is Dr. Adam Beck. He received his bachelor's degree in physical education with a focus on athletic training from SUNY Albany in 2014. He graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic, Florida, with magna cum laude honors. Since then, he's spent 8 years working as an associate chiropractor in Raleigh region, combining his knowledge of sports training, fitness, coaching, and chiropractic to create individualized strategies for patients like me. And he focuses on empowering patients to overcome movement barriers, advocating frequent movement for sustainable pain relief and functional improvement. And I like to say that I know Dr. Beck personally because I've been visiting him for a couple of months, and he's helped me gain mobility and get rid of pain in my legs and my right shoulder. And that's been really helpful these past few months. And I'll jump right into the first question, which is just like a checkup on this week. What's like the most interesting thing or encounter you've had this week in the office, injury-wise?
This week, man, you put me on the spot there. Something like that. I mean, off the top of my head, I had a kind of an odd patellar tendonitis yesterday. Older lady who started walking a little bit more, started having some knee pain. It started kind of radiating down to her foot. And it was funny. A lot of times you're radiating, you start thinking nerve, but it was actually more of kind of a trigger point muscle referral from compensating for like hip weakness and lack of ankle mobility. So really had to assess above and below the knee to get the true picture of what was going on.
Yeah, I know that when you're doing work with me, some of my problems stem from compensation or compensation from other parts of my body.
Right. Yeah, similar concept. We're not just looking at your shoulder when you come in with shoulder, it's also what's going on with the low back, how you're rotating and maybe putting increased stress on that shoulder, causing some of the discomfort that you have.
Yeah. I'm gonna kick off the podcast with your experiences in the chiropractic setting. So how did you wind up working with athletes?
Wow. Luck of the draw a little bit, but no, the facility I first started working in was highly sports focused. There was a CrossFit gym, sports performance gym connected to it, and I transitioned to a new job. Same concept within a large training facility. So we're around athletes a lot, which gives us that exposure. Earning trust with the athletes is a big thing, especially athletes. Their body is their mechanism, their vehicle. So they want somebody they trust, maybe somebody they see in the gym doing the same things they are, which I'm always trying to be visualized working out myself, which allows them to know I understand to some degree what they're going through. But my first job, we used to work with the Carolina Mudcats, which is a single A affiliate, I think for the Brewers now, but they were with the Braves and the Indians. So I got to work with a lot of pretty high end athletes there. I had the luck of the draw to actually work with some UFC fighters that were in the Raleigh area for an event.
That's pretty cool.
Colleague of mine worked at the Performance Institute, UFC Performance Institute, and set me up, and actually got to work with a few of them, which was incredible. So just right place, right time a lot of times.
What was it like working with such high level athletes like at the time?
Gotcha. Early on, it was like, it's a dream come true. That's what I've always wanted to do, being a former athlete, high school at least. That's who I always wanted to work with. So, a little starstruck at first. I had the joy to work with some guys who even made it to the big leagues. But after that, always it's first do no harm. That's kind of the doctor's mantra. These guys are, high level, amazing athletes. The last thing you want to do is, make them sore, hurt, injured. So first it's what can we make sure not to kind of mess up on them. It's like
So
taking a Ferrari and putting a
yeah,
Honda brake pads in it. You don't want to do that.
since you started out like that was earlier in your career, were you nervous working with uh people of that stature?
I would, maybe to some degree, more so going
Hmm.
into it. But I've always been, someone who once the person's on the table,
Hmm.
I'm looking at muscles, joint, vertebrae, assessing movement, and you kind of separate, the person from, the dysfunction that we're looking for, or the treatment we're trying to provide. So once I get into it, it's the nerves kind of go away, and I think same thing happens for athletes. A fighter walking to the cage probably nervous, but once that bell rings, I think that kind of goes away. And I think playing sports for me probably helps some of that. Baseball pitcher, you might be nervous going in the game, but after that first pitch, you settle it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What are like the most common types of injuries that you've seen in your career, like
Well,
throughout any
as a
sport?
as a chiropractor, I mean, I see a lot of
Hmm.
neck and a lot of low back.
Hmm.
I will say I've always, I don't want to say specialized, but my niche has always been kind of baseball. So a lot of shoulder and elbow throughout the years. Uh, Probably where I'm the most comfortable, but to me, outside of hip, maybe the most complicated area to treat, just because there's so much motion and stress that can be put on those areas.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would probably say, shoulders, elbows are the most common that I see. But even dealing with CrossFitters, a lot of hip, shoulders again. Those are big movers, so they tend to get injured first and most often.
Yeah, because I know I have shoulder problems too.
Yeah,
Because similar to baseball in some sense, volleyball has a lot of swinging in it and stuff. Just like the repetition, if it's done wrong, it can end up, even if it's minor, over time it can become something bigger,
right,
which could be pretty bad.
correct.
And then out of all out of all the injuries you listed just now, like what's one that you know you're gonna see like on a day-to-day basis? So like the most common.
Most common is definitely neck and low back. As a chiropractor,
Uh,
we're known as the low back guys, the spine guys, the neck guys.
yeah.
So that's definitely the most common. In my athletes, though, I'd say shoulder and hip. Shoulder and hip are the big ones
Uh,
in the athletic population. My general public population is neck and low back for the most part.
what should athletes do to prevent the hip and shoulder problems that you see reoccurring in your patients?
Well, we go down a rabbit hole with that one. There's a lot of things. Maybe my more weekend warriors is typically
Hmm.
mobility. They might sit at a desk all week, try to go
Hmm.
play softball, basketball, and they don't have the mobility to do some of the things they're asking themselves to do. You start
Yeah.
getting into athletes, and it's everything from are you recovering? And I think that's a big one for you. You're practicing daily,
Hmm.
long amounts of time, a lot of repetitive motion. Are we recovering and doing the things the best we can to recover day to day so we can go do it again? And then we get into muscle imbalance. You and I talk all the time about the difference I see in your back in one shoulder over the other, and that's just
Yeah.
repetitive stress. So it's mitigating some of that, maintaining muscle balance, and like I said, the recovery side of things. So that would be the biggest thing in my athletes is recovery and maintaining muscle balance.
By recovery, are you referring to things like stretching, ice baths, and like those kinds of recovering?
Yeah, the top tier to me is diet and sleep. Do we have enough protein in our diet to help rebuild these muscles, getting that amino acid complex? And sleep
Hmm.
is huge. Are you playing video games till 2 o'clock in the morning, waking up at 7 and trying to go practice? Well, you're
Yeah.
not fully recovering. So that stuff all comes together, and I'd say those are the two big ones. And then we start looking at all the other things. Is a 10 unit going to help stimulate some blood flow, a little muscle relaxation. Yeah, red light therapy is great. Heat, ice, we're getting away from as far as a recovery potential, but icing, ice baths have a lot of other beneficial effects for the nervous system, for the immune system. We
Mhm.
just want to utilize that correctly and maybe not at the wrong time. I'm not a big fan at this point of icing after athletic events. A long while before is pretty good. After, we're actually staunching our ability to recover a little bit and prolonging that recovery somewhat.
As someone who's going into nationals pretty soon, which is the end of the year tournament for me, you're saying that I should just focus on getting sleep and my diet first because that's where it all starts.
Correct. Correct.
Words of wisdom for upcoming or collegiate athletes out there who are in their season or out of their season right now?
Don't be afraid of rest. And, I deal a little more in like travel baseball than necessarily volleyball, but even talking to you, some of the swimmers I've had, I mean, it's year round training, multiple hours a day, dry land or strength training on top of it. Some time off is good for you. Um, as you get closer to that collegiate level, obviously we're going to ramp that
Mhm.
up. But to me, having a 2 to 4 week time where it's pretty mellow, I think is good for you, if not a little longer. But
Mhm.
that would be my biggest thing is don't be afraid of a little rest. And I know all the coaches that might be listening to this are like losing
Yeah.
their mind a little bit, but I think it does a lot of things. It gets you excited to get back out there. Sometimes that monotony and just overplay can really wear you out. And not to mention just physical recovery, having that time off, let you kind of heal up from, little nicks and dings that build up and can become a bigger problem.
Dr. Beck, I remember you saying that you played baseball back when you were in high school. What was that experience like?
Yeah. So I've played baseball since I could walk. My dad hung a baseball in a onion sack from our chandelier in our living room so I could take swings when I was a kid. And he played baseball himself. But
Mhm.
so yeah, I played through high school and captain my team. I pitched. I played third base, a little second base with travel ball. I also played football and basketball growing up. Um, I was captain of our basketball and football teams as well. Played a little soccer when I was a kid, so I've played a little bit of everything, but the focus was always football, basketball, and baseball. Unfortunately, we didn't have a wrestling team because being 5'7", basketball got a little tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, did you have any injuries during your time playing basketball, soccer, or baseball?
Yeah, I'd say middle school. I sprained my ankle, and
Mhm.
playing through sports, we didn't necessarily get a ton of time off, and even in the summer,
Yeah.
I was playing or working, and it kind of plagued me all through high school. Um, I would sprain it at least once a year, and I do remember my senior year of football. I was our kicker, and it got to the point where I just couldn't
Mhm.
kick anymore because of the ankle and having to tape it up. I couldn't extend my foot well enough, so the ankle injury that kind of plagued me all through school was a big one. And I know my ninth grade year, I'd actually subluxated my bicep tendon pitching. So your bicep tendon kind of goes through a little groove through your shoulder, and
Mhm.
I just one throw, and it kind of slid down. It didn't tear; it just kind of came out of that groove. And I tried to throw two more pitches sidearm because I couldn't get
Oh.
my arm up, and they finally took me out, and I was out for a good 8 weeks.
What'd you do to recover during those 8 weeks? Did you just rest and then come back?
Actually, I went and saw a sports chiropractor,
Oh.
and he did a shoulder technique to help kind of replace that bicep tendon. And then it
Mhm.
was just kind of physical training that I did on my own. Being young is nice. You take a little time, and you usually recover pretty well. I never really stopped. I stopped pitching for a while, but I was still hitting or DHing. So yeah, after the injury, after the chiropractor helped put that bicep tendon back in its groove,
Yeah.
like I said, I was young, so things still healed, and I was still doing other things. But I didn't necessarily do any physical therapy, anything like that. But
Hmm.
I worked. I was gripping, lifting, pushing, pulling. I've been a garbage man. I've thrown hay. I've done a lot of different jobs. But
Yeah.
that strengthening without, further injuring that is what kind of helped me recover. And I was still playing. I'd go in DH because I could swing. I could play like second base or first base because I didn't have to throw as hard. But it was a good, 8 to 12 weeks before I pitched again. So a lot of that was just kind of rest and easing back into it.
It kind of reminds me of when I had fractured my ankle last year. I don't think it took as long for me to heal, but I had plenty of time to rest because it was just coming off of winter break, and it was just more walking around the house that helped
Yeah,
me heal. And when I
yeah,
got back to North Carolina, because I went out on vacation, I went to a chiropractor as well for active release, and that
nice.
helped me get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, good. And that's, nice about a fracture, that bone heals and
Hmm.
we're ultimately good to go as long as there's not too much weakness associated with, laying off it for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've luckily haven't broken any bones that I know of. I got some, crooked pinkies and stuff from football, but I don't know if they ever actually broke.
Was that from like jamming fingers when you caught the ball?
Yeah, it was actually more. I was a fullback,
Hmm.
and it seemed like every time I touched the ball, somebody would drive a helmet into my pinky, holding on to it. So
Ooh,
they got pretty beat up through the years of football.
doesn't sound too pleasant. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your sports career?
Uh, yeah, I mean that's what led me to sports medicine. I love playing sports. I would have liked to keep playing, but I was short, average speed.
Hmm.
It got a little tough, and I kind of knew that going into college, so I went into sports medicine. And I think having the experience playing multiple sports and even tinkering with tennis, soccer, volleyball, stuff like that helps me really understand athletes a little bit more. The competitive nature, the want to get back on the field is I feel that too. So I think it really helps me relate with the athletes that I do see now.
That's pretty cool. I
Yeah,
know I have a couple of friends who are also athletes, and they're looking to major in sports medicine as well because
gotcha.
it's somewhere they feel comfortable working in. I forgot what the other questions were that Andy wanted me to ask. Andy, can you come back real quick? Hmm. So, how can viewers get in contact with you?
Yeah. So I work at 919 Spine. We have
Hmm.
3 locations: Holly Springs, Morrisville, and our newest one in Wendell, North Carolina. Our website, 919spine.com, is probably the easiest way to contact us, shoot us an email, or even give us a call or text
Hmm.
if you're looking for an appointment. My email is always open, Dr. Beck at 919 Spine. And we are on social media, 919 Spine on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. Probably need to do a little bit better work actually posting on there, but hopefully there's more soon to come.
So, 919 Spine,
That's right.
919 Spine everywhere, social media and website.
That's right.
I'd like to give you one last thank you for hopping on the show. I'm really grateful for you being here and talking to me right now.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Deuce. I was excited when you asked me to join today. I'm excited to see how you progress through volleyball. Your mom shows me videos all the time, so I see what you can do. But really excited for your future and hope to follow you. And maybe I will have a new favorite volleyball player sometime in the future that I can pick up on ESPN or something.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Serve Talk, and I'll see you next time.